It's Cindy's choice to be brave and to make a difference. Cindy here. Thank you. Thank you for being here today as I get to visit with Desmond Thornton some more. So excited to jump back in. And we've had a great conversation, just kind of recapping. And,
yeah.
It's been a crazy year.
It has been a super crazy year.
Yeah, it's we're referencing COVID. Maybe you're listening to this in 2025,
yeah.
but
just know it was crazy this year.
Exactly. But what I'd like to do is talk more about like home inspection, because I miss that. I miss talking about it because I loved bragging on you because you do a lot of things that I love bragging about. Like one was the home warranty offer that you offer to. So explain a little bit about that, because that gives people like a
pause.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people say like bad words when they hear it. So, it's kind of keep it on the hush. No, it's called the buyback guarantee. And what that does is that allows us as a home inspection company to kind of put a blanket around our clients. It gives them 90 days after they receive the keys. Sorry, my bad. It gives them 90 days after they receive the keys to their home to, if there's something that we missed on the inspection, we're able to, help them get their money back for their home. So say if they bought a house for $150,000, we can give them $150,000 so they can find another home. And they have to have a real estate agent. It has to be a licensed realtor.
Yeah.
We can't do that for, because there's standards that we set.
Well, I remember, this has been a while, so I might not get this just right. I was a contractor in Houston, Texas, and I was mostly commercial work, but I kind of stepped over to residential because it's like the bigger jobs are like kind of slower, longer in between, and I needed some little fillers. Mm-hmm. And I was invited to some of the Home Inspector Association meetings and kind of learning about that, because that's kind of like like closely related. They're the ones that I wanted to know when they need things done and so forth like that. But I remember it kind of terrified me for them. Mm-hmm. Because oh my goodness, it's like, you really better be thorough and know what you're doing. Yep. And that was my first, revelation of, oh, wow.
The liability on this stuff is unbelievable. So, yes.
Exactly. And, but then it also made me aware too, not just like, oh gosh, I'm like, concerned for them, but then also the home, it made me so much more aware of all the horror stories and, things that happen when things are overlooked or with the home, or they just don't get an inspection at all.
And people that don't get inspections, I cringe for them because they have no fallback. They have no support. I had a client tell me before they bought a house, they didn't have an inspection, and then this time they did, and they just thank God that they found somebody that was, reputable to be able to be on their side. Exactly.
And it's even on new homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it's like, again, being from construction and, there's a lot of home builder, they get bad reputations. And I'm like, well, how does that happen? How do they get a home inspection, even on a new home, and protect yourself, because you just don't know. And, it's not always intentional or whatever.
They have subs. They have subcontractors that do work for them that they can't keep up with all the time. So
exactly.
And, it may be a great builder at that. That has, spotty work. Maybe their normal guy couldn't get to this job, so he had to hire somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's ways and reasons behind some of the issues that these builders have. And, as an advocate for, home buyers and home sellers and honestly builders, but that's a whole nother thing.
That's another series.
But we want to improve our community. We want our homes that we do have in our community to last and be able to be resold multiple times.
And so that's a good segue into radon testing. I love sharing about that. because it's, you just don't know or even think about something that could be so deadly and you're so unaware of it in your home. And I'm like, I don't want to tear, but it's a real
true.
thing.
It's true. I had a client call and inquire on a radon inspection, and they just had read up some stuff and they were terrified of radon. And, the person just basically asked, how do you know if it's there? And you don't.
Exactly.
You can't see it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. There's no indication in anybody's home that you have radon levels that are dangerous for you and your family. So if you don't know anything about it, have a radon test done at your home. There are little devices that you can buy, off the internet. We do have a sponsorship or a company that actually does that. So if you want something like that, just visit our website, thorntonhomeinspections.net. And basically, the test tells you what's in the air. And there's on our website, actually, there is a controlled test that they did where they use like clouds to where you can see what radon actually is, because there's no other way. And I had to look everywhere to find this this video, and it's basically a little atomic bombs going off. And when it gets into your lungs, and that's what causes lung cancer when it comes to radon, is you'll have a bunch of that in your lungs. Ooh. That will cause, lung cancer to develop. And, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in smokers, but number one in non-smokers. So It's very prevalent that you have that indication of what levels are in your home.
Yeah. And again, it's like, you don't want to find that in someone's home yet. If you get that test and you're able to warn, that's got to feel good to know that, oh, wait a minute, because, whoa.
And there's precautions and ways to mitigate that stuff. So if you know about it, you can actually negotiate that when you're purchasing a home. Or if you're a seller, that, this system is going to be needed to be in your home as you stay here. So it's always good to have that test done. And
then there's another kind of testing. The indoor
air quality. Yeah. And that's a lot of people, have that where it's mold. And
I'm familiar.
They want to know, what levels of mold and why. And
I had to move out of a place that it had mold in the base. It was one of those tri-level things on the side of the mountain, and they had done all the treatment and everything. It was super thorough. And about 3 or 4 months in, me and my daughter were getting really sick, and we had to end the lease, and we had to get out. It was definitely making us sick.
Yeah, and indoor air quality is that alone. It wants to let you know what you're breathing in the air. It takes samples of just everything, your ductwork, all your HVAC system, because mold can develop in that too, and that could be the cause of all the mold that you're having issues with. If you don't have your ductwork serviced, once every 2-3 years, you could have all that dust mites, and you could have moisture
blowing in your house all the time.
Blowing all in your house. And so it's always good to have your ductwork cleaned and checked, and make sure that somebody looks at that. And then you could have water entry, from your gutters being full. That's probably number one out of everybody's house, is your gutters not being clean, and then that water cascading over the side of your gutters, hitting your foundation, running underneath the house, and then causing your insulation that most people in the South have that doesn't need it, but they have it. And that, when it evaporates in the summertime or springtime, it gets into your actual insulation, and that moisture develops mold and fungi.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you need an expert.
It's a system. It is strictly a system.
There's just we can't know everything about everything, and but finding trusted experts is the key.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the premise behind Cindy's choice. Yep. And Desmond Thornton of Thornton Home Inspection is definitely a trusted expert.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And just really quickly on home inspection. So mostly, though, you're the home inspector, the first call is when somebody's buying. Usually, their first call is the broker, right? They got to get, and then the realtor comes. Mm-hmm. Where does home inspection come into play? Who calls the home inspector? Usually,
for us, our company, I can't speak for others, but usually our company is the client, because we use our business to reach straight to you, the consumer. And we do also reach out to the real estate agents to refer us to their clients. But usually it's the client that calls us. But it's really both, because I mean we do market to realtors that 80% of transactions that happen in North America or pretty much anywhere go through a realtor, and that's how the home inspector gets their clients. So that's kind of how that works for us. But we do try to reach out to people that don't have a realtor involved.
Yes. And that's a new focus that we're about to have with a realtor exchange, an agent exchange that we're working on, because just as important it is to get a trusted expert inspector, that that expert realtor. And I've seen some situations recently.
You gotta get a good one.
And I know, like, even with you, like, you have to be careful what those realtor relationships. Yep. And it's all in this day and time. I'm like really surprised. You forget that people aren't in your circles and they're just not as familiar. But I've kind of got this revitalized passion to help people understand how important it is to get a professional, licensed realtor. Yep. And those cultivated relationships with trusted people, they deal with trusted people. Yeah. This is just too big of a risk to take without dealing with the right people in those situations. Right. But that was a good little overview on home inspectors, and it's just always great to visit with you. And I hope that there's some golf stuff coming up here pretty recently.
I'm down.
Maybe I'll get to see you in a social setting here before too long. But always just an absolute pleasure to visit with Desmond Thornton of Thornton Home Inspections, and we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time. Thanks, Desmond.
Thank you.